Alright. I'm taking forever to make this, so just busy. Um, but I wanted to make this video, get out my thoughts on Windowlicker by Aphex Twin. The song, as well as the kind of single EP 3-track thing that goes along with it. I mean, it's technically just a single, but it kind of feels like an EP. Um, but anyway, so I'm talking about this record because before I started doing this, I was listening through all of RDJ Richard D. James's stuff, um, just chronologically, all the different side projects and everything, just kind of like getting a grasp for his stuff, and I was kind of going through my own process, dissecting the albums and how I feel about them, and I just happened to be here. I just listened to the RDJ album, the Richard D. James album, a little while ago, and I listened to a little bit of the Caustic Window side stuff, both of which are good. So yeah, so this is a single, and I had never heard this before, and I was pretty blown away. So this came out in 1999. I don't really need to talk about Aphex Twin probably because you probably know who that is. And yeah, so I guess I like to start talking about the art. And so the cover for this is obviously pretty kind of funny. The Photoshop of the Richard D. James face, this stiff, smiling grin, and all that. Iconic. Uh, and so I think this is the last time he does this, because I know that after this is I think it's the Drugs album, or Drux, or however you pronounce that. And so yeah, I don't know if he does the face Photoshop or face thing at all anymore after this, but it's funny. It's very recognizable. The art is done by Chris Cunningham, who's a guy who I guess has some pretty close ties with Warp, which is the record label that Aphex Twin was on. I don't really know his status right now, but if you don't know about Warp, look it up. No, they're important to that kind of scene of like IDM music that was being birthed in the late 80s, early 90s in the UK. Aphex Twin, Autechre, I think, other people, but yeah, so Chris Cunningham, the guy who did the art, I guess he has ties with that record label. He also directed Bjork's All's Full of Love video, which I think won some awards. Very interesting video. If you've not seen it, it's or if you have seen it, it's the one where the robots are making love and there's lots of fluids. So, if you have not seen that video, then whether or not you go look it up after that description says a lot about you. I'll say that. Apparently, Chris Cunningham also worked with Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick. Briefly, but I saw that. I was just reading about this guy because I think it's cool to know who the artists are, who did the album art and different stuff. He also directed the music video for the song Windowlicker, which I'll talk about a bit. So cool to know that. So anyway, let's just talk about the music. So first track, Windowlicker. Apparently, the phrase Windowlicker comes from French. Essentially, like the English phrase of window shopping, where you just look at this. You go through stores and just look at things. You don't buy any of it. But their phrase for that, translated in English, is literally window liquor. And so I'm guessing that's where this title comes from. But yeah, who knows? And yeah, when I heard the song, I have to ask, is this just the best Aphex Twin song? Or just RDJ song in general? Because I've listened to a lot now, and up to this point, chronologically, it kind of feels like the best one. It just like, It feels like it fuses together um, a lot of what Aphex Twin is good at delivering. I feel like it takes the humor that RDJ has and puts in a lot of his music that for me sometimes is great and sometimes doesn't really always hit. It like takes that humor element of it because it's like a fun kind of funny song, and just turns it into this like beautiful danceable just wild song. I don't know. It's just I'm not doing it justice, but maybe that's why. It's really good. But yeah, it's got these just great grooves, and it has these kind of almost like choral like vocals to me. Like there's just all these layers and all this harmony, and yeah, it's the song starts a bit like erratic, almost kind of like what you'd expect from an Aphex Twin song. It's kind of it's kind of stuttering around. It's kind of not, or it's not quite getting there. It feels like a lot of little different things going on, and suddenly the beat just drops, and it's like boom, and the vocals come in, and it's just, oh my god, it's so good. And it's like the vocals are goofy when you hear what it's actually happening. It's like blah, and all this weird stuff, which is very Aphex Twin. I think it's assumed, I mean, I guess we don't know, but that a lot of those vocals are probably recorded by him. I would imagine they are. There's a lot of goofy vocals in like the Expert Knob Twiddlers album, which is actually, project-wise, is my favorite one that I've heard, which that's probably a weird take. But I don't know, I really like that one. That's like a 10 out of 10 album to me. I love that one. But they use a lot of goofy voice sounds in that, which I assume they record themselves. But anyway, it's got those kind of goofy vocal bits, but they're just layered and harmonized, and like it takes that goofiness, and it's still goofy, but also makes it like really pretty and catchy, and just wonderful. It's wonderful. Yeah, yeah, and so I did see online though that. And I guess when hearing it back, it makes sense. But that some of the songs are kind of like sexual in nature, kind of like groans and moans. There is like at one point, middle-ish of the song, when there is kind of like an kind of sound. Which, to be fair, I didn't even notice the first few times I listened to it because again, it's just so good that it didn't even like, and it still doesn't really like. I don't really think of it as sexual, but I guess it could be. It just doesn't really mean much to me. The song is just too good. It's too catchy. It doesn't even matter. The drums, I'd say, are actually pretty low-key for what you expect from an Aphex Twin song, especially coming after the Richard D. James album. Just like crazy drums and that like jungle style, and just the tempo changes, and just totally wild. But on this song, Windowlicker, pretty calm. Just like purely kind of like the drum beat. There are these other sounds that kind of like fly in, like coming in and out, different like noises and sound effects and stuff, but they're all, but they're not like core to the beat, and they're all also like very well contained, and like the song keeps that rhythm and catchiness despite all that. And the bass sound in this song is so good. It's so rich and it's bouncy, and like, oh, this song is so good. I haven't listened to it in a couple days, but I'm just getting all excited talking about it and thinking about how good it is. Yeah, and so all that great catchiness goes on for a while. It's kind of a long song. It's like 6 minutes. And then you get to kind of the middle part, and it starts to like break down a bit, and the beat starts to like skip kind of almost, in like, it gets a little bit more erratic. The skipping, it reminds me of like, if you've ever been in a car or done this yourself, where you're slowing down in your car and then you just keep hitting the brakes over and over again, and it makes you jerk. People do it to like piss off someone else that's in their car, because it's uncomfortable. That's what it feels like. The song starts to kind of like, and you're like, wait, what's going on? And then boom, it just goes right back into that catchy ass chorus, and you're like, oh yes. And so it does all that. It does, more or less the same thing it did before. It's great. and you're like, oh, this is a great song, You know, it's getting to the end of here, and then, you know, it comes back in with these just big ass synth lines that are just so fucking fat. Like, they're just like, and like big and distorted and just so rich, dude. And it hits right at the end to just like kind of carry out the song in this last big moment. And just, oh, dude, like that just sells the song too, because it's like, it's already so good, but that is just so perfect. It's just, it's a perfect song. It's a perfect song. I want to say that, like, you know, I definitely like Aphex Twin music a lot. I think it's very, very good. You know, other than like a couple things I wasn't, you know, a big fan of. It's mostly great music, but I'm also not like a super fan. I'm not like, he's the greatest ever, and like, you know, Selected Ambient Works Volume 1 is the best album ever, and or yada yada. You know, people call him like Mozart, like the Mozart over time. I don't know, whatever. I don't have an opinion on Mozart, so maybe he is. But I'm just gonna say that, like, I'm not a big dick writer. Too bad, but I am about this song. I just want to say this song is just so good. Yeah, and then there's an outro too that kind of glitches out, and it leads into the next song, and so that's cool because yeah, it kind of makes it feel like an EP. You know, it doesn't just feel like a single, and that's cool. But I will go ahead and mention the music video for this song. So that's all I have to say about the song. It's great. I'll mention the music video because I think it was like nominated for awards, and it was pretty popular. And it's pretty odd. It's like a long video, like 10 minutes long, maybe 8-9 minutes. Has this really long intro where these two guys pull up in this car, and there are these women on the side of the road, and they just pull up, and they're basically like, hey, let's, you know, they're like, yo, you gonna come with me, come with us, like, you know, we're gonna go bang or whatever. And it's like very like super over the top, like kind of vulgar, like they're just constantly swearing. And I don't know if this is to like get it like the MTV or, you know, the FCC or whatever, because this is like, you know, big music video time, when those were popular and being shown on TV and stuff. But yeah, so that's the whole beginning of it, and then this big old limo, you know, this goofily overly long limo comes and hits the other guy's car out of the way, because the guys are trying to pick up these girls and they don't want anything to do with them. You know, and then out comes RDJ with like his weird face, and then the girls come with him, and they all have the weird faces on or whatever. And it's pretty funny. You know, they're all dancing, and then it kind of comes like there's lots of like partying in the limo and ass shaking, and like, but these girls have like this really weird, like slapped on RDJ face. And so it's funny. But it's funny. It's well made. The editing is really good in it. It like chops it up really nice. Like synced with the beat, especially because the beat does weird things at certain points, especially in the middle of the song, and it's all edited really nicely well up with that, which to me, I love that about a music video. I'm not a big music video fan, but when it can do that like rhythmically with the editing, I love that. Though I have to ask about the music video. It's pretty funny. It's good. But like, is the music video racist? Because it feels kind of racist at the beginning when, you know, there's two guys in the car and two girls, and none of these people are white, and they're all like swearing a lot, and you know, like, it's really combative, and it just feels kind of weird. And like, is this supposed to be like making fun of like a culture or something? Like a hip hop video culture maybe, because the rest of the video has that kind of like, you know, ass shaking hip hop music video thing. But I don't know. It might not be. I'd like to think it's not, but it's one of those things where it made me feel weird, you know. And then RDJ comes in, it's like this white guy, he's like, get out of the way, and he's all like, he's kind of like swagged out. He's got drip, but you know, it might not be. And it made me feel a little bit weird watching it, and I'm just like, maybe there's something here, but if it is, I'm probably not I can't really articulate it. Someone else would have to. So if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. Something that's worth probably bringing up at least. But anyway, so that's all I have to say about the music video and about that song, The Windowlicker. Incredible. Like I said, that song though, outros with this weird glitchiness right into the next track, which is this very weird advanced mathematical formula. I think the song is typically just called Formula or like Equation or whatever. I'm calling it Formula. That's what it's on Spotify, which is what I listen to it on. And I tried to look up if that was like a real formula or if it was anything. I couldn't find anything. But if you know that, math people, is it real? Is it just nonsense? Does it mean anything? Anyway, doesn't matter. Song's called Formula, and I'd say just overall, I think the song is okay. I'm not super into this song. It kind of takes a bit to rev up. It's got the weird glitchiness, and then it hits nice with like this nice breakbeat, really high tempo, but then like it just kind of very quickly gets swallowed up in all this fuzz and like pushed down in between, beneath the mix. And that's kind of like the whole song is kind of has this fuzzy atmosphere to it, which is kind of cool, but it just like kind of switches up a lot. It does that thing that it feels like it never just settles. It's constantly wanting to change completely, and it's not really like a super enjoyable listening experience, or really like, it also doesn't really like provide a lot for me. I don't know. I sound like I'm shitting all over the song. I think the song is fine. There's some cool aspects to it. There's like these creepy vocal bits that come in, and the beat, after the first part, and the beat changes again, and then there's another beat change, and that's just, it's the whole thing. There are like these, the song is very atonal too. There's no like real melody to it, or even really groove. It's like really fast tempo, and like I said, it's constantly like changing the tempo. She can't really like get into it, and there's nothing really melodic going on. There are these synths that come in, but they're very atonal. The synths actually remind me of the A.G. Cook album release thing, 7G, I think is what it's called. It's got like 5 or 6 discs on it. I've actually never finished the whole thing, but I've listened to the first few a lot, and they're good. I should finish it. It's just long, and I just, I hadn't gotten around to it. But they remind me, I think it's disc 3, where like it starts getting these like really harsh, dissonant synth sounds, like blaring all over like all the songs on disc 3, and that's what this reminds me of. Obviously, the A.G. Cook album came out way after that. That was 5 years ago or something. I have no idea. And this came out in 1999, but that's what it reminded me of. And it also reminds me a bit of the Caustic Window stuff. I mentioned that at the beginning. If you've listened to that, some of that is kind of more like lo-fi and a little bit fuzzy. And so this kind of gives me that vibe as well. Bass in the song is nice. I will say that. It's just nice, just thick, juicy bass. Especially compared to a lot of the song, which was pretty fuzzy. But I mean, overall, the production is good. It's clearly like intentional. But it just, it sounds like he's fucking around, which I believe RDJ mostly is doing with his music, and that's fine. But sometimes, it doesn't feel like that because it does so well. But this one just kind of sounds like he's fucking around. The only other things to mention about this song is there's, towards the end of the song, there's like this random little vocal sample kind of thing that comes in, and it sounds like someone saying cuck, cuck, cuck. So it's probably just a coincidence. There's also apparently a Easter egg in the spectrogram kind of the song. If you spits out the song as a WAV file or whatever, you will see at the very end of the song is the face, the Aphex Twin face. Apparently he like fed that image into some program, and it spit out, like it became, that waveform became whatever it is that's the outro, and so that's why his face is in there. I don't know. It's a very, very RDJ thing to do. It's kind of interesting. And then the last song, moving right on, this is taking much longer than it needs to, is Nanao. I don't know how to say that. Nanao. I'll just say Nano. Nano. It's the last song. And this is good. It's a good song. This is totally opposite of the song before that, the formula track. Like all this hellish, crazy warping noise sounds just goes right into this really, really gentle sound. Like just really gentle, like click, 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 clack, click, clack, click, clack. Clicks, clacks, and melodic plonks. It's very plonky. There's like a xylophone, vibraphone kind of thing going on. I'm not sure which one or both or whatever. But it has that nice little bouncy, light tone. Again, there's these like ratchet sounds that come in that remind me very specifically of Donkey Kong 64, Frantic Factory, the theme, the song for that level. It has these ratchet sounds in it, and this is like when I hear anything like that, like I hear in this song, I immediately think of that. It's a good Frantic Factory song. Is a good song. I like it. But yeah, this song is it's pretty simple, honestly. It's just these nice, really light percussion and vibes, xylophones playing these melodies that are a little bit complex. They're not like simple for sure, but everything that's happening is simple. It's not. There's really no progression. It just kind of goes. It just kind of cycles through some of the different melodies and stuff, and you just kind of vibe with it. And I like it a lot. I think it's a good morning song for me, in my opinion. Really good morning song. You wake up, it has like this nice light and pleasant sound. That's nice for when you're waking up to kind of get you in a good mood, but it's also kind of energetic. So it's not, it can kind of maybe like get you in a good mood, but also maybe get you going a little bit. Because it's it's fast paced. It's but it's all really nice and light and airy. There's zero bass in this song. There's like no low end at all. It's just like there's no bass, there's no kick drums, there's no nothing. It's all just air. Simple and pretty. A nice track. I like it a lot. And that's it. That's the whole single EP thing. It's only 3 tracks, one of which I think is okay, one of which I think is quite good, and one of which I think is amazing, a 10 out of 10 song. So overall, it's very good. It's good. It's a good little... I'm going to call it an EP. It's an EP to me. It feels like an EP, but it's a good little EP single. And that's it. Glad to have gotten this out of the way. So, still debating on what I want to do next. Though I think I'm going to talk about Young Nudie. He has a new album. I've been listening to some of this stuff, and I might talk about him, but I need to know what to say. So, anyway. See ya.